Good morning, Home Church. Great to be back with you guys this morning. We're going to be in Philippians chapter 1, and we're going to look at 3 verses, 9 through 11. The Apostle Paul gives us 3 things that can strengthen us in our faith to allow us or to help us face any storm in our life. The fact is, Paul is no stranger to adversity. He is writing this very letter to the Philippian church from prison. He is not having his best day, but yet he takes the opportunity to pray and encourage others. He's leading by example. But he's giving 3 practices that will strengthen our faith so we can weather any storm. The first one that he's giving is he's teaching us how to be secure in our faith. Verse 9, the beginning of it says, "And I pray this, that your love will keep on growing." See, our faith is based on the gospel. In that gospel, the very premises of it is that God loved us so much, his creation, that he sent his son to die for us. There was no condition of him sending his son. The only condition of salvation, as you know, is that we believe, that we trust him for our salvation. But the Bible clearly says that he died for all. He died for the worst of us to the best of us. There's no distinction. What it comes down to is we all have sin in our life. We all are born into this world as sin-filled beings. The difference between the saint and the sinner is really, do you believe? But the basis of that belief is the fact that God loved us. And Paul is saying that in order to grow in our faith, that the love that we show others needs to grow. It needs to become Christ-like, where we love without limits, where we don't put stipulations on the fact that we want to love on people. Now, I realize that's not easy to do, and Paul even mentions that it's challenging, because what he's saying here is, in the rest of that verse 9, he says, "in knowledge and every kind of discernment." Because there is a danger of saying, hey, well, we love everybody and we're just going to love on them no matter what, to look as if we condone their behavior. Whatever that is, we're not going to list a bunch of things because that gets weird, and we're just not going to do that. But even though we love people and we are called to love and continue to love them regardless of who they are, it does not mean that we love what they do. I liken it to being a parent. I love my kids, all 5 of them. But there are times, man, they do stuff that I'm like looking at it going, yeah, you're taking me off right now. And being a parent, if you're sitting in the room, that's true. But it doesn't change the fact that we love them. It doesn't change the fact that we want to protect them. The fact is, we love them, or should love them, unconditionally. You need, over the next few minutes, just ask yourself this: have you personally experienced this? How do you see this type of love playing out in our current society? It's challenging. Certainly it's challenging, but what are the benefits that enhance your individual faith? Secondly, the Apostle Paul talks about being sound in doctrine. In the beginning of verse 10, he says, "so that you may approve the things that are superior." Now you may be asking yourself, well, what does that have to do with doctrine? Well, what Paul is talking about here is being able to be confident in biblical truth. It's important because it helps us have confidence when something we hear, or maybe something that comes from the pulpit, you hear that and you go, whoa, wait a minute. I don't see where the Bible says that. It talks about, the word that he uses there is a word that's used about testing precious metals. And the word superior means, so I liken it to building a library. If you were building a library, you would want the best of the best, wouldn't you, of the books? You know, there's all sorts of books written on theology, how to have your best life, being an athlete, how to lose weight, which, you know, I probably should read a bunch of those, but that's beside the point. But there's a lot of books like that. The thing is, those books, there are some that are frankly just trash. Then there are some that you read and, you know, 60 to 70% you agree with. But then there's those that you read and you're like, man, this person is on point. They have it. They understand. And that's what Paul is talking about here. He's talking about truly being sound in your doctrine, knowing what you believe, knowing why you believe what you believe. I have to be honest, in my life, you know, and through my faith journey, there have been moments that maybe something I've heard and latched onto in my youth, or something that maybe I heard from the pulpit, that, you know, as I got older and I studied, I was like, you know, I don't necessarily agree with that, because when I study this, when I read the Bible, this is what God is revealing to me. So one of the questions I have as you take a few moments is, have you ever heard something or honestly believed something and God has changed your mind? As we wrap up our time this morning, you know, Paul gives us the third installment, or the third practice that enables us to weather those storms in more of a confident manner. And what he's saying here is in the end of verse 10 through verse 11, he says, and may be pure and blameless in the day of Christ, filled with the fruit of righteousness that comes through Jesus Christ, to the glory and praise of God. Paul is saying here, you know what? You know it. Now you have to live it. Anyone will tell you, in order to strengthen the body, or or enhance a skill, or get better at something, don't you have to work at it? Meaning you have to put it in practice. And Paul is saying that's what we need to do, because we need to live it out so that we can experience God working through us. It strengthens us, but also it gives him glory. It's important, because the thing is, you can be totally sincere about something and be totally wrong at the same time. We see it every day. But as a Christian, and as you exercise your faith, as you love on people, as you read the Word, as you spend time with God in prayer, that strengthens you. It gives you confidence, and you know the truth. But yet some of us struggle with living it out in our life and loving on people, and being willing to kind of maybe dive in a little bit further in what God's calling us to do. Paul truly gives us these three things that are important for the believer. It helps us grow. It strengthens us, as I said, and it gives us the tools so that regardless of our circumstance, regardless of the storm that we may be going into, that we may be living in, and that we may be coming out of, that we have the tools, we have the confidence in our faith to grow in grace, to grow in God, in the gospel, and so that we can truly have confidence that God is stronger than any storm we may face.